Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners.
For multifamily, not only are you helping a community when you have a value add community, but you're also like helping your investors to create and build wealth. So it's something where you put together a business plan that's very, very solid. You want to under promise and over deliver because it's on a whole nother level.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And guess who I am? Yes, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you back to another conversation, another actionable, action-packed conversation. It's going to be awesome. So listen, I also want to thank you once again, continuing to be here, continuing to download the episodes, to share the conversation with your family, with your friends, because you continue to move forward and get closer to your goal. And I know that there are so many of you that have taken the time to leave an honest written review as well as a rating. And it's one of the reasons that the podcast continues to move up the charts. If you've been thinking about it forever and you still have not done it, and you have an iPhone and you want to share it on the Apple Podcast platform, there's a short video that will even help you to do that. So take just a couple seconds. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you'd like to see change, what we should be doing more of so that we can bring you the best quality content and allow you to continue to come back here every single conversation. So with that stated, I know a lot of you want to find previous episodes that are no longer on your favorite platform. Just go to billykeels.com. When you get there, screen's going to change for a second. When it does, go to the podcast tab and you can find every single one of the 210 plus episodes that are out there. And I know that you're going to get loads and loads of value out of it. So anyone who's been in the IT industry, cyberspace, those kinds of things, and you've made a transition or you're thinking about making a transition, or you want to know about people who have successfully transitioned from corporate life into being their own CEO, today's conversation is one you're really going to enjoy. So we're going to have a conversation with Tiffany Spann, and we're going to get to that conversation just after this. Yeah. If you want to know how to create value in your long distance investing journey by renovating, rebranding, and repositioning multifamily assets, then guess what? Today's the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. I promise. You know why? Because today's guest not only started her career in the IT industry in various roles in various places, various companies, also in conjunction with the role, she founded Spann Properties as well as the Spann Group. And I'm sure she's going to tell us more about that. And following the acquisitions as well as building relationships, she's also co-founded Crown Capital. And you know what? Today, our guest is also the leader for the Capital Region Meetup, which is part of the RE Invest Her team. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Tiffany Spann. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Hey, looking forward to the conversation. I know we've had a chance to catch up on a couple of previous conversations, and I know based on the things that not only that you have been doing, but also the things that you are sharing with others, that you're going to make massive impact on the Going Long family today. So with that, Tiffany, I'd like to jump in because I'm going to ask you 2 questions in the beginning. I'm going to ask you 3 in the end. And in the middle, I have no idea how many questions I'm going to ask you, but I know whatever your responses are, they're going to add lots of value to the Going Long family. So very first thing, help us understand, where exactly do you live in the United States?
I live around 13 miles outside of Washington, D.C. in a city called Bowie, Maryland.
Okay, fantastic. So near the nation's capital. Appreciate that.
I am.
All right, awesome. And Tiffany, what's the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
I feel like there's been a lot of positive things that have happened in the last 24 hours, but I would say a meeting with my partner that I had yesterday. Her and I just kind of met about the pipeline and some of the things that we needed to do. And our conversation just brought a lot of clarity to our next steps and just some of the systems that we're standing up. And we had a few light bulb moments. We're working a deal together, but it was just a conversation that I feel like really propelled the both of us and just feels so good and such a blessing to have someone that I can tag team things with and really move forward with the multifamily syndication game together.
Oh, fantastic. So whenever you get clarity, especially clarity on next steps, that is always a fantastic moment. And I appreciate you sharing that. with me and sharing that with the rest of the Going Long family. And here's the thing, Tiffany, I have to kind of admit something to you early on in the conversation. And the thing is, not only do I like to kind of keep the bar very high, sometimes as a result, I give myself these really impossible tasks. One, such as trying to tell your entire backstory in like 2.5 seconds. Like you've done way too many things to be able to tell your whole backstory in 2.5 seconds. So hopefully you'll forgive me and you'll also help me. Firstly, that you will forgive me for trying to do that, but you'll help me because we would really love to know your backstory in your own words, because that would be phenomenal for the Going Long family. And if I could also ask for just one little favor, if you could help us understand some of the major decisions that you've also made along your journey, and then we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there. Sound like a deal?
Definitely.
All
Sounds
right,
like a
please.
deal.
So please share your backstory and talk to us about some of those major decisions you made along the way.
Definitely. I'm originally from a small town in Southern Virginia called South Boston, Virginia. It's a blue collar town. I came up to the DMV area for college at the University of Maryland, and I stuck around. As you mentioned, I was in the IT field. I started off in doing like business analyst work, from there project coordinator, then moved on to project manager, then program manager. And once my hair became salt and pepper, I decided to move over to cybersecurity so I could have a little bit of peace of mind and kind of work in my own little bubble, as I did a lot of like analytical work. After a few years of doing cybersecurity, I decided to open up my own consulting company, the Spann Group, which you had mentioned. While I was doing all of that and kind of moving along and up in my career, I actually started Spann Properties, where I started a single family and smaller multifamily rental company, where I mostly rented homes and smaller multis in Baltimore, Maryland, using the BRRRR methodology. So I was buying, renovating, renting, refinancing, and repeating. After a while of doing that, I decided to kind of take a pause because I thought it's going to take a whole lot of single families in order for me to replace this daytime income, because that was ultimately what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be in control of my time. I really wanted to work with the people that I wanted to work with. And I really just wanted to be able to work from wherever I wanted to work from. So I paused for a bit to just kind of reevaluate my life and where I was going, because initially when I first started in real estate, I wanted to go straight into multifamily. But I just couldn't wrap my mind around putting down 300 to 500K on a large property. And I just didn't really know how to analyze it. I was just like, I don't even know where to begin. But when I started investing in single families, it became so easy. And the more deals I was closing, the more deals that were coming my way. So I kind of got the shiny object syndrome, because that was not my initial plan. So when my light bulb moment went off, when I kind of took a pause, I decided to join a coaching program. Once I joined that coaching program, I completely pivoted from single families into multifamilies, started selling off some of my single families, redeploying that capital onto the multifamily side. And the more and more I learned and the more and more I grew, I knew that I could not continue to do cybersecurity just because I wanted to be an expert when it comes to multifamily, and I wanted to be able to make those phone calls and set up those systems all day long, and not just a portion of the day, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. So with that being said, I decided to move away from cybersecurity so that I could fully focus on multifamily.
Fantastic. So there's one thing that you said in the very beginning. So, and then and then I'll come back to the transition that you made from cybersecurity to multifamily. But you mentioned that you live near the DMV. I think a lot of people that are not familiar with that area, they're not necessarily sure what that means. So can you tell us what DMV means?
Definitely. And I was actually going to define it. It's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you've never visited here, you can make it from like Maryland to Virginia, depending on where you live in Maryland. It could be across the bridge, or it could be for me like 20 minutes away, you know? So I'm like 20 minutes from DC, 20 minutes from Virginia, and then maybe like 45 minutes from Baltimore. So it's kind of like a central location there that we call the DMV.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And yeah, it's very well known when you're there. And so you're helping to add even more of a local context for us. So appreciate that. A couple things that you mentioned earlier. So as you've gone through some of the aspects of what you were talking about were like the traditional path. When you were talking about earlier, when you started in IT, you were moving up kind of the traditional path. And then you realized like, hang on a second, you needed to move to a different area so that you could kind of live in your own little cubicle or area, your own space probably is a better way to say it, not cubicle, your own space. At the same time, there was this desire, or you talked about this move into single family. But what I guess I'm not really sure, maybe some people are probably thinking, well, hang on a second, you were working in IT or you're moving up, but you needed your own space. So you moved over and now you're in this cybersecurity world. And for people that don't know, it's an area that is really continuing to be up and coming, cutting edge in the IT space. But then you kind of left the whole intangibles of IT and you started looking at real estate. But I'm not necessarily sure if we understood why you started to even have that first movement. Can you maybe unpack that a little bit?
Definitely. So I started having that movement, one, when I opened up the whole new ecosystem of my coaching program and met other students. I had a one-on-one coach. I mean, just learning more of the ins and outs of multifamily. Two, the more and more I learned, the worse I started to feel internally. I had like a pit in my stomach.
Well, so, and then we'll come back to that. But I guess this is because one of the things that happens, right, especially when you're in a role that's in the type of a cutting edge industry, people are like, well, why would you even look at anything else? And so even though you were in a role in a high tech industry, there was still something that was leaving you unfulfilled. You could have selected a number of different assets. But initially you thought multifamily and then you got nervous about that and then you went there. But what was it about real estate versus saying you wanted to go all in on, I don't know, and I don't want to beat up on stocks, but the stock market, or you wanted to invest your time and energy in some other kind of thing? Why specifically was it real estate?
Real estate, because I mean, I like the fact that it's a tangible asset. I'm risky, but I'm also like a conservative, moderate risk profile type of person. When it comes to multifamily, you can force the appreciation. The way in which the values are, evaluated are completely different. So for me, it just made the most sense. I feel like not only is it wealth creation and wealth building, it's also wealth preservation. It's something that I can also pass down to my son in terms of, the methodology that I use, the systems that I use, the apartment buildings that I pick up, just all around. To me, it just made the most sense. Not that I don't invest in the stock market and invest in other alternative assets, but I will say that like the majority of my net worth lies in real estate.
Correct, which is very contrarian to the majority of the population, right? You're also amongst very good company here, by the way, because it's very similar. But I guess that it makes an excellent segue to my next question. So you wanted to start multifamily, you ended up going single family, and then eventually you came back to multifamily. But I also happen to know something very interesting about you and the way that your business is built, which is one of the main reasons that you're here, right? Because although you live in the DMV area, right? See, we learned really quickly. You happen to invest in a place, well, in your backyard, but also you're focused and you're targeting areas that are beyond your backyard. And the reason that that's interesting is because most of the books that I read when I got started really said when you read the book, you were becoming a landlord. So it was really important to be living in the same city, or at least like literally down the block. I fundamentally don't believe that. I've been doing that for the last 10 years, living in Europe and investing exclusively back in the United States. So there's a couple thousand kilometers or miles between us. But you're making a conscious decision today to also do something very contrarian, which is to look to invest beyond your backyard in a multifamily asset. So could you give us some of the insight as to what's really driving your desire to look beyond your backyard when it's something that many people think to still be pretty contrarian?
Definitely. So, I mean, in terms of like my criteria, I mean, I can't really find my criteria in my backyard. And honestly, having invested previously 45 minutes away, like I don't want to continue to go to the property every day and check on the renovations. Like one thing on the multifamily side, you have partnerships and everyone has their own roles and responsibilities. And for me, being the boots on the ground and the asset manager is not exactly my role or responsibility. I know, how to do it. I'm always in the loop. I'm more, if I had to do it, I'll definitely do it, but it's just something that I don't want to do. So, I mean, for me, investing in my backyard, it doesn't really matter. Number two, like I said, in terms of my criteria for the deals, it's just not here. Number three, my boots on the ground, they aren't here. The people that are the experts in, the rehabbing and the property management, they're not located here. And those are my primary reasons for actually not investing in my backyard. And I think that I guess I have another one. I mean, I just don't want to put myself in a bubble and lock myself into only being in my backyard. It's so much better working in other geographical areas and just having like partnerships everywhere. I just feel like I kind of box myself in and just staying in like one area of my backyard, even though we are connected here in the DMV.
Yeah. So, and the reason that I think it's important for you to share or for the Going Long family to hear these different reasons, because everyone has a different reason for looking to invest beyond their backyard. I mean, you're very clearly, and this is a lot that comes with someone who has a high self-awareness. You realize the things that you like and that you're good at. And if those are things that also play a role to being a successful part of the team, and that's what you do. And as you can put together different joint ventures or working together or syndications or whatever the case may be, but it gives you a new option to use your skill set to the best of your ability. If you don't have that, then you can team with someone, which I think is phenomenal. Also, you talked about having very clear criteria. And if the location that you live in doesn't allow you to find the types of assets that comply with your criteria, then guess what? There's a lot of geographies out there, everyone. You can find another location with the right team of people that has the skill set to be able to make sure that that asset, that property, that whatever it is operating effectively, operating efficiently. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us, Tiffany, because it's one of those things where there's not one right answer. The answer is whatever is the most important for you in the destination that you're trying to get to, and are the different vehicles that you're looking at going to help you to get there. So you've talked a number of times already about even in the most positive thing that's happened is partnering or working with someone else. You've just talked now about your business partners, or you've talked about members of your team that are doing things. Now, a lot of times when you're a busy professional and you're thinking about, okay, well, this sounds like something that I'm really interested in. Tiffany's obviously done this, but I don't really know how to go out and start putting a team together. What would you say to that person?
I would say start networking. I would say identify the things that you enjoy doing that you're good at. I would also say whatever your focus is, if it's multifamily, I mean, find out the key roles, find out which role out of those key roles would be your role. How can you serve your partners? And just be clear on your strengths and weaknesses. So, I mean, you definitely have to be like your partners, but you have to have a lot of opposite characteristics as well.
Having those complementary skills is one of those things that really helps to make a strong team. If everybody has exactly the same skills, it's going to be great meetings, but not necessarily knowing if you're looking at all the different angles to be able to cover potential blind spots. So I appreciate you also highlighting that. So talk to us a little bit about this transition that you went through. So like, and I know we talked about it just high level before, but you said you wanted to start multifamily, you went single family, and then you went ultimately to the multifamily. Now, and I guess it's more the second part of the journey, and being able to highlight maybe, and really, it's Tiffany, it's probably more of the feeling aspect of it, right? Because you were in an asset class in the single family. It was okay, but you realized you needed to kind of scale. But I know there's can sometimes be, or you've probably seen this with a lot of people that you work with or that you're coaching, that have this fear factor about being able to make the transition once you really are kind of doing maybe your birth strategy or whatever it is. You find the sweet spot in single family. You know you want to go to multifamily, but there's just this fear factor that's kind of holding you back. Talk us through a little bit of that.
Definitely. So my first investment on the multifamily side was actually as a limited partner. So doing that deal and understanding some of the ins and outs of that deal and talking to, one of the general partners, it made me feel more comfortable. It also made me feel like this person isn't any different than myself. It's something that I could definitely do. So that's kind of like where it began. And then I also invested in a few other limited partner acquisitions. And then I took on my first general partnership. But I would say it's definitely scary. It's something where you have to plant a whole lot of seeds and really nurture those seeds and water them and wait for them to sprout and grow. It's something that, unlike the single family side, it's not like an instant gratification. When I had a property that I liked on the single family side, I was closing in, 7 to 10 days, where it's like completely different on the multifamily side. It's a game of patience. It's something that honestly, it's kind of like changed my entire life perception, because it's not only like helped me to grow and build wealth, but it's also helping me to just grow as a person,
Hey, Tiffany, would you be open to sharing maybe a couple of just things? Because I appreciate you sharing, like, in a single family residence, 7 to 10 days, you're pretty much closed if you're all cash. Give us some insight because you talked about, hey, yeah, it's very different. You're growing your patience. But that person that's going, okay, I really like what Tiffany's saying, but maybe she'll help me to break down some of this fear. She could just tell me a little bit about some of that difference.
Definitely. I mean, the biggest difference is like that instant gratification. I mean, you can put a lot of LOIs or letter of intents out there, and, maybe, make it to the final, best and final, but I mean, you may not make it to that next round. So just to get a property under contract, it could take a month, so it's more of a patience game and a relationships game. And I mean, you just think about everything that you do a bit more strategically than you did on the multifamily side. I mean, on the multifamily side is something whereby you pretty much really learn your market and you become an expert. So when you do put in those LOIs, like, if they accept your LOI and you can make it to getting under contract, like, you're going to move forward no matter what, because I mean, your integrity is on the line, your entire, I feel like it's like your whole background and everything. Like, people know you it's on a whole nother level on the multifamily side. And I mean, I just feel like it's something where, I mean, for multifamily, not only are you helping a community when you have a value add community, but you're also like helping your investors to create and build wealth. So it's something where you put together a business plan that's very, very solid and, conservative. You want to under promise and over deliver because it's on a whole nother level. So, I mean, it's something that a very long-term play and something that really will just take, patience and nurturing because of that.
Okay. And I appreciate that. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's really simply, as you said, it's when you have a single family residence, there's less people. So it could be something that's very fast as you're looking at a larger, depending on the size of the multifamily, but just by its nature, you have different teams. So you're not just doing something by yourself. You have other individuals that are involved. You have due diligence. Instead of looking at one single family residence, maybe you're looking at 200 different apartment units. Then you have to look at your insurance. You have all of these different aspects of the multifamily space that, to your point, Tiffany, are probably going to require number one, more patience, just because it's a longer process, more people involved. And at the same time, it provides the opportunity to have a even greater gratification. It's just going to take a little bit longer, not quite as simple as the single family residence. Each of them can provide gratification, just usually on different timelines. So one of the other things that you also mentioned, you kind of threw it in there real quick. You mentioned that you had a paid mentorship. Now, a lot of people talk about, hey, I could just go surf YouTube and I can find this and I can find that. And eventually I'll get all the stuff I need. Could you talk to us about what or maybe you said paid coaching, but it's either mentorship or coaching, sorry. But I know that you said that you were investing in yourself, which is the real reason for the question. Could you talk to us a little bit about what helped you to make that decision that it was the time to actually invest your currency or your money in yourself versus doing something else?
Definitely. Even though I'm really big on, YouTube podcasts as well as books. I mean, I know I needed more. I needed like fine details. And I also know that I needed guidance, like hand-holding guidance to really understand the ins and outs. And I'm also just a believer in just getting coached as well to try to be the best version of me. So in doing that, I actually had a call with someone, and I mean, we were just kind of doing like a discovery call, because before I was even in the program, and you go on someone's website, it's like, oh, schedule a call with me. I'm like, let me schedule a call, and then we had a call, and I was telling him where I was, and he was like, yeah, like I did a coaching program, and he told me the coaching program that he did, and I had been looking at that one and looking at some others, and he was like, yeah, like you should definitely do the program. It's going to open up your contact base to a whole lot of people that you normally wouldn't have been able to meet. It's a whole new ecosystem. So when he said that, I was like, yeah, I definitely need to move forward with the program. So then I just started interviewing different coaching programs, and then I decided to join one. So.
Okay. And that really was about, because I think I love the way that you phrased that, Tiffany. It was that you knew that you needed more than just finding what was on the internet. You needed more hand holding. You needed more attention. And so that level of awareness is fantastic, because when you know that you need those things, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for you to waste a lot of time on the internet searching for things, when you can just find the person or people that have already gone along the path that you're looking to go on, and then really spend more time deciding, is it the right fit? Maybe you could talk us about that as well, because I think it sounded to me like you spoke to a number of people before you made the decision, and maybe some of the criteria that you decided on to say, okay, this is the actual program that I want to, I mean, we don't need to know the name or any of that kind of stuff, but this is the program because it aligned with X, Y, Z that you were looking for.
Definitely. So some of the programs, it just wasn't really clear what their agendas or like their format of the program was. And for the price, I was just kind of like, I need to know a little bit more about this. I'm not going to go and pay, a college tuition for a year and not know exactly what I'm going to get. And then after interviewing a few, there was one that basically in short term said, I mean, the quickest way to get something done or, to get to another destination is a straight line. And it's like, he was just like, we're going to give you everything that you need. Like you can go and, go to this feel good program and feel real good about yourself and then execute, or you can go over here and they're going to give you that. But he's like, here, we're just going to give you exactly what you need in order to get it done. No, if you need a broker, if you need, a lender, whatever you need, like we're kind of going to give you all of those resources and we're going to help you to get to that finish line the quickest way. Like we're not going to sit over here and, take you on this little journey when the quickest way to your next destination is just going straight ahead, And so when he said that, I was like, yeah, I think this actually is the program for me because I'm trying to get there quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and so I appreciate that. And once again, it shows the level of due diligence that you go through. You figured out also too, what was the right fit for you. And then based on the destination that you wanted to get to, and also how quickly, and I think this is so key, is how quickly you wanted to get to that destination, also the ability of work that you wanted to be able to do, then you selected the program that was the best for you. So I appreciate you sharing that. There's one other thing that I did want to ask you as well, because there are also a lot of there are a lot of people that are watching and listening to us that are in these high paid professional roles, and they're thinking about getting started. And you know what happens when you're in a high paid, high profile professional role? Well, that's what you do all the time. And so when there are success stories like yours, where not only were you working in a cutting edge industry, you were excelling at your role, and you were also able to build what probably most people call a side hustle for a while until it became your thing. I know that I did that for like 10 years, almost 10 years. And it's not easy. It's doable. If I did it, anybody can do it. You did it. But maybe talk to that person about what are some of the things that they can be doing to that they can either do to get started, because maybe they're still fearful that they won't be able to do both things well, or they're looking to accelerate the things that they're doing so that they can potentially get to their goal, which could be exiting their job or to getting to whatever level of income, and they can do that faster. What would you say to that person?
Definitely. There's two things that I would recommend. Is like, number one, educate yourself. And number two, surround yourself with people that are already doing it.
Yeah. It's very simple. And you need to be able to have the level of education. If you don't know, then surround yourself with people who've already been there, and they're going to help you fill the gaps, because you're going to recognize where those gaps are really quickly. And then it's up to you to do the work to be able to start to move forward faster. And it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things where I've seen many, many people, I'm sure you have, and I know nowadays, I'm sure you see even more people that are just thinking about, hey, yeah, I really want to get started. I should be doing this. And then you see them maybe a couple months later and they're going, yeah, I really want to start this. I really want to be doing this. And sometimes it's just a matter of saying, okay, you've got the education. You just have to keep going. Like now you just need to move to action. You've given us a really good idea earlier, even for those people that want to get into maybe larger deals. Sometimes if you are an investor and watch the other person, or maybe did you ask the person when you were a limited partner if you could watch in on deals, or you could ask certain types of questions or any of that kind of stuff in your very first limited partner deal?
I definitely did. So, I mean, that was like going in, like one of the requirements that I had. Like I wanted the insider. I wanted to have someone that I could touch and meet with and, do Zoom calls or get, photos that everyone else, won't receive. I just wanted to have more of an insider perspective. It was also one of the advisors of my program's deal. So, I mean, that also made me feel more comfortable and confident. But definitely.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So I appreciate that. And like, Tiffany, here's the thing. I can't believe these conversations, like they literally fly by. Like I cannot even believe it's time for the Going Long Final 3. And the thing is, Tiffany, I never ask anybody, and today you are our special guest. I never ever ask anyone the Going Long Final 3 unless you tell me that you're ready for me to ask you. So my question is, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I knew you. I think you were born ready. So we're good. We're good. Here we go. So listen, Tiffany. So we started with you over in Maryland today. I'd like to bring things back over to my new adopted side of the pond over here in Europe. And I would love for you to share with me and the entire Going Long family, what is your favorite European city that you've either visited or is still on your bucket list to visit?
Bucket list to visit would be Santorini, Greece.
Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. Yes. Summertime. Go there in the summertime.
Oh, yeah.
My recommendation. Awesome. Okay. Santorini, which is fantastic. Question number 2. Tiffany, this has a lot to do with the good fortune that I've had in being exposed to really successful people. And one of those things that I've recognized, and I would consider you to be someone who's very successful as well, because you're out there every day impacting lives, making positive moves forward, things like that. And hopefully you'll agree with me that one of the things that I've seen from really successful people, and one of the reasons that they're really successful, is that they, unlike most people, when they put together a plan, they put the plan together, then they go out to execute the plan flawlessly, perfectly the first time, which then allows them to go forward even. Sorry about that. It's just a joke. Don't worry, Tiffany. It's just a joke.
Like,
Everybody listen, you got to check out the video. If you're not checking out the video version, you have got to check out the video version now, because Tiffany was like, oh my gosh, is he all right? No, it's just a joke. It's just a joke, Tiffany. Don't worry. Don't worry. The entire Going Long family, they're all in on it and stuff like that. And I appreciate you suffering for me. That was very, very kind of you. She's like, oh my gosh. No, so here's the thing. Really successful people, they don't get things right the first time. They actually do quite the opposite. They usually make 20 to 50 times more mistakes than most people. Always, 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 always. But the thing is, and I was kind of joking before, but this is no joke. This is very serious. The thing is those very successful people, every single time they have it, either you call it a failure event, a learning opportunity, a mistake, whatever you want to call it, whenever one of those things that happens, it's relevant. Every single time they stop, they learn from that mistake, learning opportunity, whatever you want to call it, failure event. And then thereafter, they put different strategies, tactics, and actions in place to minimize the probability of that exact same thing happening again. So I don't want you to think about the mistake. I don't want you to think about the failure event or the learning opportunity. I only want you to think of it in the context of what it was the lesson that you learned. And what is that one lesson that you want to pay forward to the Going Long family today?
Definitely. I would just say due diligence, just making sure that whatever it is that you do decide to invest in, you do your own due diligence, even if it is a passive investment, just making sure that you're protecting yourself, and also, you care about your money more than anybody else. So just making sure you do that due diligence and, learning as much as you can and asking any questions that you may have, because no question is really a dumb question, especially when it comes to your investments.
Love it. Love it. Due diligence, making sure you're out there doing it. If not, connect with somebody that can help you, but make sure you're doing your due diligence, because as Tiffany just said, nobody cares more about your money than you do. So this brings us to the very last question, which is the third of the Going Long final three, which is really about helping us to feed our minds. So what is the one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today, Tiffany?
I would recommend Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Very cool. Miracle Morning. I'm a big believer in savers. So we'll make sure, don't worry if you're running on the treadmill, if you're cooking dinner, we're going to include the link in the show note and you can go check out Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, which is absolutely fantastic. So Tiffany, flown by. Just amazing. Thinking about you starting the very beginning, talking about having clarity, building clarity on next steps, but then also taking us back to when you were in your IT role and you were following the traditional path, right? You followed the traditional path up to a certain point, and then you realized, like, hey, hang on a second, you wanted to get into this real estate game. You wanted to get in this multifamily game. You wanted to get started, weren't really feeling like that was the place to go. Decided, hey, listen, I'm going to start over here because you wanted to get more control over your financial life, small multifamily, realized things were going to, or small, the single family. As you were in the single family, you were going along and then realized, you know what, actually I need to do something a little bit bigger, but I need to kind of pause. I need to get into some coaching. I need to get somebody to help me. You followed those steps. You did your own due diligence, right? And then from there, you decided, hey, listen, it's time for me to kind of put this previous life away. I really want to focus on the things that are most important to me, my life priorities, and having real estate play a part of that, being able to also team with other people so that now you are moving closer to your own goals. You've talked about the importance of teams a number of times. You talked about the importance of due diligence a number of times. You've also thought about what are the roles, what are the responsibilities when you're teaming, making sure that there's teams that are complementary, not just replicating the exact same thing with each new member of your team. And I know that the things that you've done, the way that you continue to go out and add value to others, we talked about earlier as well, the real estate investor and leading the different leading the organization where you are right now, that there are people that are here that are part of the Going Long family that are thinking, oh my gosh, just ask the question, Billy, help us. They really want to know, what is the best way for the Going Long family to be able to contact you, to be in touch, have a conversation, or just find out more about what it is that you're doing?
Definitely. all social media platforms on IG, tiff.the.investor. On every other platform, Tiffany Spann. And then I could also be reached through email, tiffany@crowncapitalcorp.com.
All right, Tiffany at crowncapitalcorp.com. We're also going to include the others. Don't worry, everybody. We're going to make it really easy. In the show notes, you will just have to click a link and you can find her on any social media platform, and it will be absolutely fantastic. So listen, Tiffany, I just want to say thank you so very much for deciding to invest your time with me and the entire Going Long family and sharing your story today. Thank you so very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
All right. Awesome. And if you give me just like 15 seconds, Tiffany, and then we'll be able to get out of here. I just want to say last words to the Going Long family. Listen, everybody. Phenomenal. Tiffany just gave you really actionable items. She gave you things to think about. If you're in that role today in an IT position or in a corporate role and you're thinking about how can you get started and moving, it's about taking action. It's about getting the education. It's about surrounding yourself with other people. It's about not being afraid to invest in yourself so that you can be in a position where you're living your best life and you can follow the example that Tiffany's leading today. So listen, I know you want to take today's conversation, share it. You've already downloaded it, share it with other people, talk about what you've learned today. That's what's going to help you to take it to the next level. And while you're doing that, I'll be here preparing for the next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very, very much.